CSS has a lot of different units that you can choose from, but one question that seems to come up throughout my career is whether you should use pixels or Rems. So today I'm going to answer that. So I have a very basic HTML page here. It has two paragraphs, one that is sized with pixels and one that is sized with Rems. Pixels are an absolute unit, so when you set the font size to 24 pixels, it's going to be 24 pixels. Rems, on the other hand, are relative units that are based on the document size, and the document defaults to 16 pixels, so 1.5 Rems times 16 pixels is the equivalent of 24 pixels. Now, there was some confusion in the past around how pixels behaved once retina displays or high density displays were introduced because of the ways that pixels changed from physical pixels to like virtual pixels or something like that. But really this comes down to a question of accessibility and how fonts scale for people that have vision impairments. So the argument is that it doesn't matter whether you use pixels or Rems because, as you see, you can scale the font size up and down by zooming the browser in or out, and they grow at the same rate. But that is not actually the main point. The point is that users can go to their browser settings and modify the default appearance such that they want to use large font, and this would help users that have vision impairments. And as we can see, if we go back to the browser, the absolute unit of 24 pixels remains the same regardless what the settings are, but the relative unit grows with the default settings of the browser. So once again, this is an accessibility concern, and anytime that you're defining sizes for your font sizes, you should definitely use Rem units. But of course, because we're talking web development, the discussion is nuanced when you're talking about other properties. If, for example, we want to change other properties like padding and border, we can see what the difference is between pixels and Rems. So we can see that the second element here, in addition to having a larger font size, has larger padding and border width. And this is because it's set with Rem units that scale up with the browser settings. And this brings us to the nuance of the conversation, because padding and border width are not really strictly related to accessibility, just the font size is. So do you want your padding and border width and all of your sizes that would otherwise be pixels to be set with Rems and scale up if the user changes their settings? That's up to you. And it gets even more confusing when you introduce the question of media queries or container queries. Fortunately, there was an article in 2016 that basically tackled that question called PXM or Rem media queries. It basically concluded by saying that M units and Rem units are going to be better for media queries than pixel units, although because of a bug in Safari, M was a little bit more consistent than Rem. But I imagine because the article's so old that that bug is gone, and I would probably just stick to using Rem. So to answer the question once and for all, should you use pixels or Rems? The short answer is just use Rems. It's an accessibility concern when we're talking about font size. It works more consistently across media queries, and for everything else, it kind of depends. Of course, there's nuance and there's going to be exceptions, but just to keep things simple, use Rems. If you feel different or you would like to contribute to the conversation, I would love to have a comment down below. Definitely check it out and get back to you. And if you like these sorts of videos, please consider following so that you'll be notified when the next one comes out. All right, catch you later.